And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vasinda. I am Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP. I also changed my audio settings a little bit in the last day, so let me know how I am coming through out there if you are watching. But it is Zine Month. Zine Month is an event that happens every February that people release zine weight, small projects, about half a page, usually saddle stitch, but we're not cops here on Plus One EXP, so it might be a lot of different looks and sizes, but simple, digestible TTRPG related content, and they put them out into the world for funding. Here on Plus One EXP, we're always looking to think about how we can more sustainably support the indie RPG industry, so we partner with Zine Month, as I am a member of the organizing team, to help create some educational content on how you can do things better. So we cover things from building a budget this year. We're going to cover fulfillment next week. This week, we are looking specifically at how to build a crowdfunding page. All of that content is stored over on our YouTube channel. Usually I have a special guest, but in a lot of ways, as we start this year's Zine Month, as Zine Quest 5 kicks off, as Tabletop Nonstop over on Crowdfunder is getting going for the first time, as all the different things that happen during this month happen. It's a really special time to me. This is when our channel grew a whole lot initially during Zine Month 3. And we have a really strong love for looking at and talking about how a page is built, what it might be communicating to the audience through some of the way it is, both directly and indirectly, and how pages can get better. Over the course of Zine Quest and Zine Month, I have reviewed thousands of pages in addition to launching my own. So I am very excited to sit down tonight with all of you who are here and talk specifically about this topic. Before we dive into that, though, we do have a sponsor for this stream. If you want to ever sponsor a stream with one of your projects, feel free, reach out. It helps cover the cost of producing the streams and helps keep us being able to do all the work that we do. So if you have a project live right now, you can. We're going to talk a little bit about the Constellation RPG Zine Anthology. And here's why I felt very comfortable having this project as a sponsor. It's one that is actually, I think, an absolutely phenomenal example of what can happen when you take Zine Month very, very seriously. But it is an anthology collection of different zines, most of which launched or released over the last couple Zine Months or Zine Quests, a lot of which we have played here on stream. We are going to look at this page in detail a little bit later on tonight to kind of evaluate how it's built and other things like that. But these are games, a lot of the games in this collection we've played on stream. There's 12 exciting role-playing games that are packed with action, horror, and intimate emotional experiences put in this. It's funding right now over on Kickstarter, and we are really appreciative for Hit Point Press. Two things. One, for sponsoring this stream, for helping support our channel, but more importantly, for working with 12 indie creators who put together some absolutely phenomenal games and then bundling them to help amplify what they're doing. Visa Visage by our good friend Max Lander, friend of the show from the Read the Fucking Manual podcast. The World Is Not Yours by Travis Hill. Moriah, Flames in the Abyss are all games that are near and dear to our heart, along with great things that we own, like 100 Scales. Gourmet Street by Charlie Ferguson Avery, one of the other organizers, all compiled into this first anthology that they're offering. If you haven't gone to go check it out yet, you can head on over to ttrpg.link/constellationks. We're going to come back and look at the Kickstarter page a little bit more further down. We're going to evaluate it, look at how it stands up to some of the things that I talk about as kind of being the essentials and the ideals for a Kickstarter page or a crowdfunding page generally. But we're going to look at a couple other projects first. If you have questions as we go ahead and drop them in. Thanks to Loot the Body and Teal for letting me know that I am coming through crisp and clear. We really appreciate that feedback. First thing you have to know about setting up a crowdfunding page is there's things that happen before you even look at the page. The prompt next to me is what you would find if you went over to Kickstarter and hit create a new project. And again, we're going to look at a bunch of different platforms tonight. We're not talking about Kickstarter projects specifically. We're talking about any funding page that you're creating, whether you're building on Itch, whether you're building on Crowdfunder, whether you're building on GameFound, whether you're building on Kickstarter. We're going to look at the essentials for all of them, as well as what some of those individual platforms do. And then if we have some time at the end, which I'll take some extra time if we need to, we're going to spend some time specifically evaluating a few pages live. So if you're watching right now, want us to take a look at your page, give feedback, we're going to have some time to do that at the end. But before you even get started with the building of your page, you have to submit the page to actually have access to it. And I want to walk through that because it's something a lot of people don't consider. They'll try to whip up a page real quick and get it out there. But the reality is it takes a little bit of time, and there's a couple of things you need to know before you even get to that point. So for Kickstarter, and a lot of ones will have something very similar to this, regardless of what it is, unless it's a platform like GameFound, which is all games. But even then, they're going to ask you what type of game you're doing. But you can't see it because it doesn't pick up on the way the screen works. But there's a drop-down menu. I would select that. It's got like art, comics, crafts, other things like that. We would select games. And then secondarily, I would pick that this is a tabletop game. It'd be great if they created an RPG category, but they may not. Then I could select a separate one. I'm not actually building a project, but let's say it was a RPG about food, like Gourmet that Constellation has in its collection. I could select food, and then I could collect community. I could collect events, farmers markets, food trucks, restaurants, small batches, spaces, vegans. I think I would go with cookbooks because I think people who like food RPGs might be the kind of people who like cookbooks also too, especially depending on what I was doing. The next, you would have to tell them where you're from. I'm just going to keep on going through here, picking some easy ones. You have to verify who you are. I should have tested this process beforehand because now I'm going to have to remember my password for this particular account. No, this is not going to be just for Kickstarter, Duck. We're mostly actually going to be looking at non-Kickstarter. I'm just walking through this process on Kickstarter. So then every platform is going to have some rules. And then it's going to ask you to go through and do a whole bunch of things. And these are things that you're going to want to have set up in advance. And the reason I'm going over it on Kickstarter is it's because it's where people have the most problems. And it's where a lot of people are going to be looking. But if you're doing Itch anywhere else, it's going to look a little bit different, behave a little bit different. The basics are things about your project that you need in order to get started. So you want to pick your project title, right? So I would typically just go with the name of my game and end it with RPG or TTRPG. Subtitle, I would make a good solid sentence that's a really good description and encapsulation of what I want to do. I've already picked the categories. I've already picked my locations. A couple other things you're going to want to have ready is the preview image that's going to go up and the video. We're going to talk about these specifically in a second, preview image versus video, other things like that. And then your funding goal. If you want to have questions about what your funding goal should be, go back and watch the budget video we did last week. We're going to talk a little bit more about pledge levels this week, but the budget one really covers how you get to this number. And it has to do with the number of backers you think you need to get and how much your core pledge cost is. I will throw that out there as a quick thing. And then your target launch date, right? If you set this for tomorrow, you may not get approval in time. You want to set it for a couple of weeks out, and then you want to get in, and you're gonna set the duration and a couple other things before you dive into your page. The biggest thing you need to know about that a lot of people don't know about is payment. You're going to have to, for a lot of platforms, do some kind of verification on bank details. And this can take a couple of days to do, and there can be reasons that you get rejected. So these are the two things I really wanted to draw your attention to, that on Kickstarter, GameFound, or a lot of other bigger platforms, there might be an issue with any of these. So you specifically want to make sure that you're taking and paying close attention to having those things in weeks before you want your project to go live. GameFound is the hardest to do with this because their payment processor is overseas in the Netherlands, and it is difficult to communicate back and forth. It wasn't too hard for me, but it was hard for a lot of other people. And you have to do this pretty much every time you submit a project because your bank details might change. They're going to want you to do this. So we're going to pivot away from Kickstarter for a little while. I just wanted to start here because it's where a lot of people will begin their crowdfunding journey. But let's look at some of the basics we need, and let's look at a couple of different platforms. I've got a few things that I look for on any project that I am a part of, right? Like any project that I am building or giving feedback into, or any of those kind of things, I have a few different elements that I'm going to look at specifically for that. I'm going to pop up the ZiMo page while we're talking because I want to make sure that I can stay focused on what we're talking about without worrying about what's beside me right now. And I didn't do just a big window, so we're gonna just leave that up on the side for just a second. But a couple of things that you want to consider no matter what platform you're looking at, right? You need to know the name and description of your project. You need to think about the banner or splash image. You need to think about what kind of flavor text you're going to use on the page that describes what it's like to play the game, like things that sound like you might say them at the table. Think about this as the things the GM might impart to the players before they take over role playing or play. Those are typically kind of the things you're going to want to think about including in your game. You're going to want art for the page specifically. Show, don't tell is a key element for building any page. You want to think about endorsements. People who like your work, who like you, gather those as you're doing playtesting. It's great if they're a big name. It doesn't matter if they are. If they're a playtester, if they're your friend, if they're your mom, include those quotes, right? I have quotes from people who wouldn't even look at our game Repugnant that we included in the press packet because they thought it was too disgusting. And we thought that was great to include, like, I can't even look at this. I have no feedback. Please don't bother me about this anymore. Those kind of things we love depending on the flavor of the game. But you want to have people who are going to say positive things about your game kind of gathered up. You want to think about stretch goals and pledge levels and a number of other things. You want to include some information about how to play the game, what specifically is included in the game, the team who's involved with the game, risk challenges, and then we're going to do a deep dive on pledge levels when we get to that segment of the night. But here's three things. If you're building a Zine Month project for the first time or for the 50th time, I want you to think about it. You want to show, don't tell, like I already mentioned. You want to make sure that people get the vast majority of the information they need in about 3 scrolls down on a mobile device, because that's about how long you'll get. Every size of screen is a little bit different. It's one of the reasons I use a strong vertical when I'm doing these kind of displays, because I want us to understand what it's like to scroll 1, 2, 3 times, and do I have most of the information I need to know if I'm excited about this game? But the way you're going to order things is going to be designed to keep people scrolling down. The last thing is classic advice, KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. If this is your first project, if you've never done a crowdfunding project before, or if it's a small project that you're doing just for ZiMo, you don't need to get overly complicated with your campaign page. The essentials we're going to talk about are what matters. And even though I have advice, the order you choose to put yours in may be a little bit different. When I work down the page, in just a second, when we talk through kind of what's on the page, We want to look specifically at things in a certain order, but just because I think something's a good idea and just because I have a lot of expertise and feedback doesn't mean that it's perfect for your product. Sorry, chat is distracting me a little bit. But yeah, absolutely, Duck, you should include those quotes in what you're doing. So here's what we want to look at. Here's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about a couple of different platforms, some of the advantages they bring, and things that are universal on every page. We're going to spend most of our time looking at Crowdfunder, and then we'll spend a little bit of time looking at the Constellation project. Before we do that, I want to show you how I incorporate this into projects I do. And so for that, we're going to look specifically at the Down We Go project on GameFound. Now, the project's completed. It was done last year. It starts shipping out this week to backers, which we're very excited about. Pre-sales go up on Friday, which we're very excited about. And if you haven't got it, we would love you to pick up a copy during this zine month. But it's a great project that I am very proud of how we built, and incorporates a lot of the specifics that I look for when I am building that project. There are no GameFound projects on ZineQuest, no ZiMo projects on GameFound because it really hasn't taken off as an RPG crowdfunding platform. But we did use it last year, right? So not during Zine Month, at a separate time. But here's what we got. Like I said, here's some of the things we want to think about. The title at the top, Down We Go, Infinite Edition. Who it's by is already going to populate. And then that short description, right? Besides one, correct. Down We Go captures the heart of old school tabletop RPG flavor with simple core rules. This globally developed game includes procedures, adventures, hex crawls, and a new core setting. Venture to Infinopolis, a twisting city that hungers for gold, jewels, and blood to keep it running. So grab a torch, grab a blade, and seek your fortune as Down We Go. Now, depending on the platform, I might try to reduce that to just one sentence. And if I did, I'd probably use the first one and the very last one. Down We Go captures the heart of old school TTRPG flavor with simple core rules. So grab a torch, grab a blade, seek your fortune as Down We Go. A little bit about the project, a little bit of flavor. And that's going to be a consistent thing that we come back to over and over again. You can see on GameFound, rather than there being one static image that you have the option for at the top, you can have scrolling images, and those images can be video as well. We'll showcase the videos over on when we're looking at Crowdfunder, because I want to talk about what Grandmothership did with the video that I think is really great if it's your first Zine Month project. But there is a video here. It is very good. I did the voice acting. I'm very proud of it. If we have time at the end, we can come back and watch it, but we're not doing it right now. Right? This is not normally here. That's because the funding is complete. Some core details at the top that are automatically populated on this platform, specifically in some genre suggestions. The first thing I think every page needs to start with after a strong set of banner images or a strong splash image or a strong video, because you need something strong at the very top that captures the flavor of your game, right? For us, the first thing you get is this, right? It's a video. Like I said, we could watch it, but it's got great evocative art. It tells you specifics about it. Each of the different slides does something very specific to try to draw your attention and tell you a little bit more about what it's all about, right? But then we go down to just showcasing art and narrative text. Down into the ground they go. The sneaky, the mystical, the holy, the bloodthirsty. To plumb the depths for riches and glory before returning home to Infinopolis, the infinite city. Infinopolis is a hungry metropolis built by the gold, treasure, and stone and blood from generations of delvers. Power alliances and the streets themselves endlessly shift in a greedy attempt for more. There's only one way to feed this city, so down we go, right? The goal is be evocative, share art, capture their imagination, give them the vibes of the game. And then immediately after that, what is this actually, right? Down We Go is a role-playing game in the old school style by Marcus Linderum. It focuses on player skill, narrative logic, and simple rules using a D20 and D6. After that, as quickly as possible on your page, I want to see this image. I want to see the spread of your game. I want 1 or 2 pages of layout and the cover very quick and very close to the top. It's not necessarily the first thing you want to see, but it's probably the second image I want to showcase on my crowdfunding page, because I want to show people this is what you are getting. This is the thing that I'm going to be sending out to you. Even if it's a mock-up, that's fine. Mock-ups are the norm and the expectation, but show me what you're going to send me and let me get excited about that, right? After that, endorsement by somebody who I love, Mamedos, absolutely phenomenal collaborator who I love getting a chance to work with. And then what can we expect in the game? Again, showing, not telling. What is inside, right? What do these spreads look like? Giving people a sense of things, another quote, and then hitting them with a bulleted list, right? A single page of core rules, a set of dastardly one-page dungeons, expanded GM procedures. And then I'm telling them a little bit about where I'm shipping and fulfillment because I was looking for an international audience. Might go lower down on the page. And then specifically, what are the formats that they can order it in? This is a more complex campaign than a lot of y'all are going to be looking at. That one spread you're going to do is typically going to be enough. You don't need to do this if you don't have multiple print formats, right? And then I'm down into pledges. I'm showing what we can do. I'm showing people, again, very quickly what they can do, add-ons, other things like that, stretch goals next. And then for me, team was very important, so it's a little higher up than I would normally do it because we had this huge, great global team of people who were working on it. And I want to see faces and know about those people. I want to know that there are real people who are making this game, who are on the other side of this project, because I want to support them. And so your team is important, and don't let anybody tell you it's not. I usually drop it down lower than this, but I always show who we are. I always talk about who we are. I always want you to know that we're real people. After that, on this page, actual plays and media. Really easy for us, but we go out of our way to get a lot of other people involved. Loot the body does need to, because an image is just as good as a whatever, but I'd love your face on there, Loot. And then we've got, again, a couple more endorsements. The rules linked out to the one-page starter. Linking to rules, huge win in RPGs, even if it's a minimal viable project. If people don't want their picture, so Armanda just said, hey, I was going to ask about the pictures. It feels really invasive, but I'll keep it in mind for my next project. When I do interviews with people or when I build a crowdfunding project and we're looking specifically at the images, I always say, send me a headshot or a brand mark, right? Either way is fine. If people have a pic crew that they use commonly on social media, that's fine with me. If we go back up, some of the things you're going to look at. That's what we've got on there. So Loot's got this, right? Simone Temeta, lead artist. They've got their image. Walt is wearing a mask in his, right? Keegan used a logo. Madeline is hand drawn. It's fine if it's not an image. It needs to be an image that people recognize as associated with that person, but it doesn't matter. Duck, you could post a picture of your persona as an icon. It is fine. So again, we're going to go through all those things, the core rules, basically sampling, here's what you're going to get. And then this is an important section, risks and challenges, refunds and cancellation, and how shipping is going to work. Generally how shipping is going to work, but not always. So those are a little bit of some of the things that you want to keep in mind on every page. And you notice I didn't do any graphics on these at this point in time. Like, this is all just text, because we want to make sure it's very easy to pick up. If you're going to go really graphically intense, make sure you're using alt text functions that are now included on most major platforms also too. So this is what I do when I build a project every single time. These are the things that I always included. They're the things that I'm going to look for. Their order may vary, but now let's dive over. We're going to look at Grandmothership, which is funding over on Crowdfunder right now. Originally, the plan was to have Armanda and some of the team from Crowdfunder on with us. You can see from the side here, I am part of the project team for this. So please know that I do have a vested interest in this project. I am very invested in it being successful. I'm 100% using the fact that I have a platform to boost this project, and would love for you to go check it out. As a matter of fact, Armanda, I think you can drop. I believe you can drop links. So go ahead and drop a link in, and if for some reason you can't, I'll drop the link in a second. But go ahead and drop a link, and I'll get a TTRPG set up, because we should already have one for you set to go, but we don't for some dumb reason, because it's been a busy couple weeks for me. But let's talk about Grandmothership, right? This is on Crowdfunder, which right now, if you are thinking, hey, I want to crowdfund a game, I don't want to use Kickstarter, I don't know what platform I want to use, maybe I would just itch fund. We are some of the founding voices in why itch funding is great. I still think itch funding has a lot of roles. If you are looking to crowdfund a physical copy of a book and you want to do something that's a little bit low key and far less stressful, and that it is not limited to certain locations in the world, please use Crowdfunder instead of Itch, especially if you are located somewhere that Itch taxes at 30%, because there's a lot of places in the world where you will lose 1/3 of your money if you Itch fund due to fees and taxes. Please consider using Crowdfunder because it doesn't do that. And I would like you to get way more of the money that people pledge to you so you do not have to artificially create things. I also really love the team at Crowdfunder. They are sponsoring some content we are doing later on this month for Tabletop Nonstop. They developed Tabletop Nonstop, their current kind of Zine Month contribution, specifically to coincide and partner with Zine Month. There is no formal partnership, but I do love them. They are doing some paid content for us this month, and I would really encourage people to check out Crowdfunder, even if they weren't, because I think it's a better platform that creates better sustainability for you. You get access to a lot of things you will not anywhere else, and I would highly endorse it, even if they weren't giving me money for other things, because they didn't give me money to say that. I am looking at a finished Crowdfunder page. This is. Oh, I don't want to look at a finished Crowdfunder page. I am looking at this is a finished one. I'm looking at an active project because Armanda said I could. Armanda said I could be as mean as I wanted to the project, as long as I help with whatever it is afterwards. And originally we were going to build this one together last week, but I had to cancel and move some things because of a lot of real life issues. So we're going to look at it live tonight. I'm going to give feedback on it. But I also think Armando has done a really good job here. And even though there's going to be things I'm going to suggest that should be different, it's not a critique. I do this with pages all the time. And again, it's my opinion, which may be well-informed, but it's whatever. Here are some things that are unique to Crowdfunder that I do really love before we even get started, right? So Grandmothership, a sci-fi TTRPG about senior ladies in space. Great. I'm already excited. I'm already invested. I love the mothership reference. I, as a fan of Brindlewood Bay, know there's some influence in this. I'm already very excited. 45% of the way to a 1.5K goal. 42 contributors, 24 days left. Really, really great start today. Ideally, on your first day, you want to try to hit 50% funding. You need typically to hit 20 to 30% funding, or there's a good chance you're going to have a slog or won't fund on traditional platforms. Crowdfunder, I think you're going to see more consistent growth throughout the life of the campaign. I think we're going to see a better arc, but we'll see. It's a new platform. We're getting a lot more data about it. And we will have David or Leon from there on sometime later on this month for some projects. But let's look at Grandmothership as we go through, right? Again, great opening video, right? There's a little bit of an issue here because I can click on this and so it looks a little bit different. Actually, what I should probably do is just log out, right? Grandmothership. So that we're seeing it a little bit more from... games. Show me the games. Show me the games. Lots of great Zine Month projects on here. Armando, stop being smart and remembering that you typed the link in the chat and that I could just type it in. Thank you. All right. By the way, if you feel called to contribute to this right now, it's crowdfunder.com/grandmothership. Please feel free to contribute. Great title, great description. Lets me know exactly what this is, what it's all about. No, don't be sorry. Please be smart. So we've got a couple options here. We've got in the corner a gallery view and a video view. So we've got some images here, just different sizes. By the way, let's look at this cover. Great cover. Tea Party, the use of the purple vibes throughout, the sci-fi toss in, the knife here, the spaceship here, the question mark, the body. We're getting little. I gotta go smaller. Sorry. I'm off my game tonight. We're getting a lot of vibes here about what's going on, right? The question mark, the body, the bloody knife, the tea party though. The flowers, the feelings on this, the clarity that this cover brings in, and using that as a strong splash image is great. We've got a spread going here, right? That gives us a strong sense of, again, what's in the game. Just a few of them, not final art, right? But giving us a sense of what we're going to get when we get this game, right? That's what it's all about with that splash image up top, or with the splash images overall that you're looking to create. Let's go ahead and hit play on this video because it's short, and I want to talk about what Armando did here. Videos, projects with videos do better, period. It's not a requirement. If your funding goal is $500 or less, don't do a video. If it's $1,000 less, maybe don't do a video. If you want to get $5,000 to $10,000 and you don't have a following, do a video. There's a lot of reasons why I could go into about it, but you really should include one on your project. But let's watch the video. It's very simple. Armando did what she could do, but it does a really great job showcasing the game. You might be thinking, that's it. Like, right? Armando took some of the art that she had. She arrayed it really, really well. What I might do is look at a little bit of pans and some basic movement. You can do it on iMovie. You can do it on any free platform. But I would probably create a little bit of a sense of motion on the images as I was going. But other than that, that soundtrack kicks, right? Again, helping build the feeling that you want. That additional picture that we don't get in the gallery view of the spaceship megastructure thing, while the grandma sitting there with tea on her knee, incredibly strong, right? Like, great track, great art, great feel, moves things through. Only thing, and the length is great. It's super easy and do it. I might add a couple more pieces of text, right? As every image change, I might put new text up on the screen. And I might pan some of the images in the background just to create a sense of motion. But all that stuff's pretty easy to do at home. You don't need a professional to do it if you do not have access to one who can help you, right? But again, really, really great use of some basic tools. Something Crowdfunder does that is not common on other platforms because they don't want you to link away, but Crowdfunder has a huge focus on the community sharing and helping grow your project. A lot of other times it's like, share this project after you've pledged. It starts here with really pushing you, like, put this project out in other places, share who it is, right? We've got story, highlights, updates, and activity. Most things will have these kind of pans across. We're going to come back to highlights and some other things overall, but I really like this function on this platform specifically and kind of what it does. But Armando starts really clearly in both English and Spanish, which is really important for the context of the project. This game and its digital versions will include a Spanish version, and then the same thing again in Spanish, right? Just knowing, hey, even if you see this project in English, and digitally it's going to be in English and Spanish, which I think is great. Clear link to the preview right at the top, right? And it'll take you over to Armando's itch page where you can go check it out. I don't know that I would put it quite so high up because I wouldn't want people to click away from the page. But I do think having the free preview in here in one of the top 3 scrolls is a great thing to do. I don't know that I would put it up this high because I don't want that click away. I don't want them to go over there, then get the free version, and then start reading the free version, and then forget to back my game. I wanted to back my game, and so I would move that down. The promise to get the basic Ashcan version as soon as the campaign ends. Again, I would move this down. I would start here with, again, a narrative piece. I would write 3 or 4 sentences about what it's like to GM this game. I might move those alongside a piece of art, but I want to create the flavor. Like, and I could go a couple ways. I could go like the concept of, you can feel the power as the rocket ship takes off. Talk about maybe the clattering of a saucer as tea spills out, and then all of a sudden have grandma start complaining about that process, right? So I would go with something a little bit more narrative here at the top, or that's a little bit more descriptive of play. But other than that, Armando does a great job of doing the next most important thing, which is, what is Grandmothership? A TTRPG for 2 to 4 players and 1 GM about space horror and senior ladies piecing together a mystery, get in trouble, crochet a new scarf, go ballroom dancing, and find solutions where everyone else has failed. A game designed to be played as one-shot sessions. Great, phenomenal encapsulation. I am ready to get a scarf, go ballroom dancing or bathroom dancing, and find solutions where everyone else has failed. Grandmothership is Armando's first crowdfunding campaign, and she is thrilled to see many incredible creators from around the world contributing, right? Again, then strong art piece right after that. Like, this is really good spacing. Everything's nice and tight in this. I might bring in the top or bottom of this image a little bit just to create less vertical space that's getting taken up, but that's a simple crop. I love the image itself, and it makes me want to know more about this game immediately. So where does it come from? What was the ideal behind it? And this is naming some touchstones. This is what's a little bit more about what's going to be in the game. Armando had booked a spot for a Brindlewood Bay session. Some of the players didn't show up, so they ended up playing Mothership. They joked about how funny it would be to do Vietas Especials. I did a bad job. There with the Spanish. I took French in high school. But senior ladies in space. And so it was a joke game that grew into a Honey Heist, Brindlewood Bay Mothership mashup. And so that's where the game grew out of. That personal story, that personal connection was great. Why would you enjoy Grandmothership, right? Some people will be like, this project isn't for you if I don't do that. I think you always stay positive, right? So if you're looking for this type of game, this is for you. Typically, I just try to showcase that stuff. I don't tell it as much, but I think it's doing some good lifting here. I would ask if this session is essential or how I include these things somewhere else. And Armando, if you want any help with this, just Discord me later. This is a really abuelita's. Absolutely. Again, focusing on some of the great spreads, incorporating art. Who's working on this project? So that team piece next. I typically would move team down lower, but again, there's a lot of projects where I'll move it up higher if I'm really excited. And I think that Jean is an absolutely great voice to include. Hippolyta is also too. The people who are working on this project are great contributors. So again, if you think those contributors are going to bring eyes to the project and encourage people to back, they're absolutely worth moving up higher. Otherwise, I might focus on pledge levels, stretch goals, other things like that if I was looking at the campaign. I've got too many things open to get rid of Brassy Stutter. Oh, this is fun. If you're on the page for too long, you get reminded to contribute before you've left the page. This is cool. I didn't know this was a function. That is nice because I leave pages up for extended periods of time and never know if I actually backed it or not sometimes. But anyways, I think a great inclusion of different people. And again, some of my favorite contributors, like these are all people whose work I buy. So I think totally worth keeping up high. And it's a really phenomenal team. You will notice, again, just for transparency, we're helping, we will be carrying this product in store. We're going to be printing it at Plus One EXP, and fulfillment is being done by our parent company, Brand Fox. So for full transparency, that's how it's going to work. And it is, one of the non-insignificant reasons we're using this as the project we're looking at. What can you expect if the basic goal is reached, right? What's going to be included in that core copy? And I do, like I said, I think this would be better higher up on the page. I would also look at maybe how I would condense it down a little bit. Think about, have I said this already somewhere higher up, or am I going to say it again somewhere further down? General rule of thumb is, unless it's very important, only say it once on your page. Like you'll notice there is multiple times how printing is going to work. I do think that's worth having in probably 2 or 3 locations, but I want to know more about these stretch goals way sooner, right? So what happens when we reach 1,700, 1,900, 2,100, or 2,250? Because we're going to go reach those goals, but I want those things higher up, just so we get a little bit of better sense about where it's going, why we might want to contribute more. And then we do a really good job of going after that straight into the media, endorsements, and other things like that. So again, overall, I think this is a really phenomenal page. I think it's really well done. There's only a few adjustments I would make, things I would have suggested previously, had we had the time last week to be able to dive into them. But overall, I think we're doing a really phenomenal job of really defining, hey, here are the important things about this project. Here are the things you need to know. And again, there are some additional considerations because of the bilingual nature of it, because of the global contribution of the team. I would just try to get as tight as possible, because the one other critique I would add, it's a lot to get through. And Armando, I want you to tell me who you are as part of the team. You are part of the team. You wrote this. Start with you, move down to the rest of the team. You are the person I want to support, that I want to back, whose vision I want to help come to life. If y'all don't know Armando is the lone Som here on Plus One, reviews solo games here on the channel. Armando is a TTRPG designer from Argentina and part of the RPG LatAm community. They focus mainly on solo gaming, from sci-fi to slice of life, from horror to cozy. Most popular games are in sci-fi settings such as Paranoid Android, Xenoarchaeology, and they've been in love with sci-fi since they were a little girl, and proud to be able to share their passion with you. So again, it's a lot of it's just moving things around and then looking for concise, right? Let's talk specifically now about the big question for a lot of people, though: pledge levels, right? And again, I love this. I love this feed right here of who's contributing. Hey, William, I don't know if you're watching right now, if you just happened to contribute recently, but thanks for backing this game. I appreciate it. Armando appreciates it. Crystal back 22 minutes ago, right? But we really appreciate it. I would love to see some names from the chat here. Armando, drop that link in again. Let people know where they can go do it. So let's talk about pledge levels. Something I love about GameFound, something I love about Crowdfunder that Kickstarter does not do. Kickstarter puts your pledge levels from cheapest to most expensive, so people will consistently see that number going up and up and up. Crowdfunder lets you order your pledges in whatever order you want to. I told Armando, put the primary one you want people to back at the top, which is the physical and digital level. It's $17. It's going to give you access to the digital version in English and Spanish. It's going to give you access to the physical version. Once the books are printed, you're going to get a promotional code. You'll use that to check out on Plus One EXP, and you'll pay for exact shipping to you at that point in time. Awesome way to do it. Great way to use Crowdfunder. Really love this function, and love that I can adjust this and move it up, right? The digital copy is $12. The digital community copy is $7. There's another cool function to Crowdfunder that we're going to hit in a second also too that isn't as obvious, but these are 3 great levels. Typically, the 5 levels that I will tell people to consider having on their first project is 1, the thank you level. It's $1, $2, $3. I want to follow along with this project. You're going to send them a digital thank you card. You're going to be appreciative for them contributing. They're going to be able to order the game later on in a pledge manager, not for Crowdfunder, but for other ones. Things like that. So the very inexpensive level that's just thank you and follow along. Help boost it to your friends, right? So we have a traditional project called $28 in 28 days that we do in February typically, which is pledging $1 to fund or $2 to funding projects to help boost as many creators as possible. Consider doing it this February in this zine month if you want to, but that small level is for that. Some platforms kind of de-incentivize that, but I like it as a funding level. There's a reason it's not on this pledge, and I actually know what that reason is. We'll tackle that in a second. The next one is your base digital level, your community copy, your $5-ish level for a digital or a less expensive copy. Oftentimes, I will price my digitals less the cost of the physical print of my game, because the amount of work that goes into my digital and the amount of work that goes into my physical is only the difference in printing cost. I put as much work in either one. And so I price my digital copies to be about that cost. It's not what everybody does, but I'll do, on a project this size, would probably do $8 to $12, which is what Armando has it at, right? And then the digital community copy, if you can't afford that, or you want to create a copy for somebody else, is $7, which means you're creating accessibility for other people, and it's a commitment to other ones. After that, we're going to look at the physical copy, the core copy of the game, typically the thing you want people to do. Then we're going to look at, I will typically say, an enhanced copy. It comes with something extra. It's a fancier version. There's a little bit something extra that you get with this copy. That's typically the main pledge level I actually want people to back at. And so I try to make that kind of my midpoint. And then I will do a top tier one on top of that, right? This isn't including retail or anything else like that. I think retail's handled typically better after the campaign anyways. But it's kind of a high level pledge. Hey, for $150, I'll include your grandmother's name. For $200, I will send you a tea satchel to use during your campaigns and name one of the characters after your grandma, right? In addition to, hey, maybe here's a couple copies of the game. Those are the type of things that I like to put in at high levels for people who really want to support your game, who feel really attached to the idea of it. It also has the advantage of making that kind of slightly more premium version look a lot cheaper in comparison when you're building it out. Whatever your top level is, you're typically not going to get the most pledges on that level. And whatever, if you do an ultra premium level, don't create a ton of extra work for yourself. Don't do custom adventures. Don't do things like that. Change a name, do a little bit of extra work, do things that are very easy. If you run a game for them after the campaign's over, right? If somebody wants to back it at that much online, I'm going to run a campaign for you or a session for you, right? Those are all good ideas on pledges. So, so there's a lot of reasons for that. Now, I mentioned there's a reason that there's not a super cheap option on here and on Crowdfunder. And part of that is I've got to go looking for it. Are these things, Tony gotta find the thing real quick. He's gonna look around. I love that timeline function down there. Highlights, updates, activities. Oh, I think it's when you hit contribute, right? So when I hit contribute, I'm going to select whatever level I'm going to do. I can also move forward without selecting a project on Crowdfunder, but let's say physical and digital, right? Then I'm going to hit continue. And then I'm going to have these additional options. And this is one of the things that I love. Because you don't have to do a physical pledge level, you can do this. If you just want to support it, you just hit, hey, I want to contribute. You can select a product if you want. Otherwise, you can just move forward. You can support the grannies for $2, $5, $10, or $20 extra, or enter your own amount. So Crowdfunder does things a little bit differently in letting you just contribute additionally. Also, yeah, like Armanda said in the chat just now, you can actually, on Crowdfunder, say, hey, I want to suggest a price, but I also have a different price, right? So if you'll notice on the physical here, you can pay anywhere between 15 to 20. You can actually pay whatever you want to pay, but the suggested amount is 17, which is a cool thing about Crowdfunder. I don't know any other platform that actually does, right? That just lets you easily do that. It's a very cool functionality to this specific platform. Let me put it on the screen a little bit better. But these pledge levels are very well built. The additional support is very smart. You could name them a little bit like, funny things, but I think it's just generally like, hey, help buy tea for grannies, and I love all of that. So if you're looking for a project to support, I want you to check out Grandmother Ship. I know that some people, let's see who. It's not one-to-one, or it refreshes as it goes. But we've had more people contribute since we started. So we've got $698 pledged. Now let's see if before the end of our stream today that we can get this project. Let's see if we can get it to $750. Let's see if we can get Grandmother Ship to $750. If you're watching right now, consider go to pledge for Grandmother Ship. Let's see if we can get it to $750. However, we are going to take a short little break while I mention our sponsor one more time as we look at their page. And our sponsor for tonight is Constellation RPG Zine Anthology. Like I had mentioned before, this is an absolutely phenomenal anthology of zines from previous zine months and zine quests. I'm very excited to see projects like this coming up. I'm also really excited to see Hit Point Press being a little bit more engaged with the indie scene. They've been absolutely phenomenal for us to work with, and I would love to have you go support them. Again, you can go to ttrpg.link/Constellation KS, but it's an absolutely phenomenal anthology where you can discover your new favorite role-playing game. It's 12 different games by 12 different creators from past zine months and zine quests and beyond. Dive into new adventure settings, explore deep emotions, and fight dangerous foes in an eclectic mix of games. There's something for everybody that spans a wide range of genres, including action, horror, tragedy, comedy, and slice of life. A ton of my favorite people and contributors are also in this collection, and I love that it's all been bound up together in a hardback set so that you can grab it and put it on your shelf. Hit Point Press is doing a lot of great things, and we're looking forward to partnering with them more in the future. Now I have to find my actual broadcast again on my countertop, but go check them out if you are able to. And let's take a look at the actual page for this project, right? Let's take a gander at what's going on here and see if they're kind of doing some of the things that we have talked about in this. They did not ask me to do this part. They just asked me to plug them. Thank you so much, Armando, for making sure that's in the chat. It's also in the description if you're watching the video later. But let's dive in real quick and take a look at what they've got going on their page. See if they're up to muster on some of these things. Because Hit Point does some of the best physical products in the scene. They're a great small press company. They're divesting themselves of OGL-related products in some really interesting ways, and they were already on the way to do this. Sebastian, who's the project lead for this, one of my favorite people. I'm very excited about this. I haven't even watched this video yet. Let's see what it's all about.
Like the stars that make up a constellation, we seek to connect through our stories. We share to find direction and kindred spirits, and sometimes even to find ourselves. Welcome to Constellation, an anthology of 12 independent tabletop game zines. Tell a story that spans generations and craft your legacy. Explore grief. Fight Dracula in space and pull off some badass moves. Encounter a stranger who looks exactly like you. Reclaim an intimate boundary through physical contact. Like sailors who used the patterns of the stars to guide them, let this collection guide you on your journey through the world of indie games. Back on Kickstarter today at constellationrpg.com.
It's really funny because I was just saying, hey, Andy mentioned over on YouTube that my audio is having issues. Let me know if on Twitch we've been having any issues with my audio. I was in an interview the other day and they mentioned it. So if YouTube is having issues also, I've got to look and poke around, but I don't know if I've been dropping in or out or if other things have been going on. But let me know if there's been any audio issues. I'd really appreciate it. Andy, does it sound like peaking or something else? Message me later. Let me know. We're going to keep on going. So that's the Constellation video. Again, really great articulation, really solid use of, like I said, that simple panning. It's animated. It's not overly complex. It's popping up the image. It's obviously professionally produced, but it's doing a lot of simple lifting doing a lot of simple presentation and using kind of the core assets in this. So again, this is Constellation RPG Volume 1, which I love to hear because I love the fact that we're hopefully going to get more of these in the future. So keep an eye out for this as they look to kind of gather and collate more of these. I'd love to see more people who we helped build your pages be in anthologies like this. Had an overall funding goal of 5,000. They've already doubled that with 233 backers. Great success. Absolutely excited to see that. Would love to see this project get bigger so they do more in the future. So if you're able to go support them, please do. There's 7 days to go. So we've got the norm Kickstarter stuff at the pause. They have these buttons, but I don't feel like they're as prominently displayed as they are other places. That's just a platform statement, not anything else. Again, big image right at the top. Bam, here's what you're getting. Great use of alternate text right here. And they don't have flavor text. Like they wouldn't have flavor text for this type of game, right? So you're not going to look for that same thing at the top that we would look for, but we are going to look for kind of what captures the heart of the project. And so discover your favorite new role-playing game with Constellation and an anthology of zines from 12 independent creators. Constellation is packed with action, horror, and intimate emotional experiences. It includes new adventure settings and games for 1, 2, or more players. Constellation is available as a digital edition and physical book, marking the first print run of many of the zines. A lot of these zines are getting into print for the first time, as well as some ones that are already established. I'm super excited about that. It's something we're super passionate about. But again, Constellation being Constellation, like discover your new favorite role-playing game with Constellation, especially given everything that's happening in the RPG scene right now, is incredibly strong language. Incredibly strong language. Hey, you're looking for a new RPG to play? We've got 12 of them. Is a really good, captivating, emotionally driven pitch. Strong presentation of here are the 12 things you're getting. Not just one image, but one image with 12 images in it. And really driving home the flavor of each one. And then again, a little bit more of that kind of flavor tech. Like the stars that make up a constellation, we seek to connect through our stories, and we share to find direction and kindred spirits, and sometimes even to find ourselves. Man, super great, evocative language right at the top. They jump straight into rewards after that, right? So $12 Constellation community copy, $25 digital PDF, $50 Constellation hardback book, which if you were getting all 12 of these, you would probably spend about $15 USD each. So that's, $180. So $50 for this project is really a steal for that price. So then it's going to dive into each of the games, right? So we've got Project Daybreaker, The World Is Not Yours, which I backed originally for the fancy, you get a bunch of ephemera thing, but I was super excited to see Travis's work in this. Flame in the Abyss, which we've gotten to play live here on stream, is an absolutely deep, emotional storytelling game with no GM, where you kind of each are taking perspectives on this journey of transformation in this mythical abyss space. Angela does phenomenal design. One of my favorite people in the world, Max Lander's Visa Visage, is absolutely great. Cinematic rivalries in a 2-player game, kind of face-off style stories. But again, they're going through each of these, giving them each their own little space, giving you the key information you need about each. This is a very distinctive product. It can break the rules very easily and still do a lot of what it's doing. But a lot of these individual sections, this, the 100 Scales by Zedekiah and Munkau, an adventure inspired by Southeast Asian fabrics, Hindu Buddhist monastic schools, and the Mangrove Islands. It's a gazetter. It has any number of players. It's an adventure setting. It's giving you a short little view of it. This kind of concision is really strong in a project like this or in other projects. Mariah, one of my favorite projects from last year by one of my favorite creators. There's a lot of really great uses here of the space, even though it's a very different type of product. They're still hitting a lot of those key things. Stretch goals, this is a lot of scrolling down. The one major ding on this project is it's a lot of space to move down to get through all that. I might have tried to go a little bit shorter, do a little bit about each one side to side, and then maybe do a little bit more deep details down. But here's one of the cool things. At 50K, they're going to launch the Luminary Grant. At 50K, they'll commit 5% of the total campaign funds to go to developing the Luminary Grant, which will provide funds to creators to build new and creative tabletop RPGs. I love seeing hit point invest in this. I love a grant stretch goal. If you're gonna do a stretch goal that you do something financially, I think the grant's one of the best things you could make. How are we creating more space in the field for somebody to do things? I think it's a tremendous stretch goal. Even if it's, I want to create more money for people to make games in my system, that's a great stretch goal for any size zine project. Even if it's, I want to create $50 to be able to pay someone, I don't know who yet, to create an adventure for Grandmothership or for Down We Go or whatever it is. I think that's very cool. The specific concept of doing it generally for new RPGs is excellent. A thing that they put up that is a really strong piece that not everybody knows, especially if it's your first project, is what's your timeline? How are things going to look, right? But they're laying out kind of the funding process here at the beginning, then production, then freight, meaning it's coming in to the shipping center, and then shipping. It's going out of the shipping center to you. So they're letting you know kind of when they're going to deliver. It's another great addition to your page if you can manage it. And then if you know you're shipping and you know where you're shipping to, it's always really good to do it. We're doing one specifically on fulfillment next week. If you don't know that information, don't stress about it. We're going to deep dive into it. We're going to talk about fulfillment. We're going to talk about doing it yourself, working with fulfillment centers, what you need to consider when you're looking at shipping rates, a whole lot of other things that you need to consider as you're looking at these different pieces. So please, if you're curious about that, tune back in next week. Or if you're curious about fulfillment, next week. And then how you can reach out for support. And then again, the team. The team on this one, they did a really good job of highlighting up above. Again, I might look at a little bit different at how I'm integrating some of that information back and forth, but those are the things we're going to look at. I know we're at an hour. I know we've lost some of our viewers because we were getting to that point. I'm going to take 10 to 15 minutes if we have them, and I'm going to look at people's pages. So if you have a page you want me to look at, now is a time to drop it in the chat. I'm going to look at just a couple of pages before we go off. I'm happy to give feedback on any of them. I just want to double check. Armando said, we don't listen to you, Tony. If there's any issues with my audio on Twitch, and then Andy, if you're still watching over on YouTube, give me a sign about how my audio is now. But if you have a page you want me to look at, you can't drop a link because I won't be able to get there, but tell me the platform it's on and tell me the name of the project, and I'll go over and look at a couple while we still have some time together. If anybody wants me to. If nobody wants me to, then we'll sign off and say good night. I do know that Aaron King did drop me oh, I'm sorry. I've got a lot of messages over here. No one's dropping any, but I do know my good friend Aaron King did ask me earlier if I would look at their game. And usually people actually will send me stuff when I ask for that kind of things. But if no one wants to, that's okay. Better, but it still occasionally gets weird. Send me a long message on Discord. I saw that, Andy. That's one of the things I started reading. Yeah, it feels like there's some sort of weird noise compression happening. I did move some stuff off my system, move it back in. So I'm going to have to just dive in, see what's up, see what's happening. It doesn't seem to be happening on Twitch. It does seem to be happening on YouTube and when I'm doing some other video-based stuff. So if it's a little bit difficult for y'all, I apologize. I may download the Twitch video and re-upload it to YouTube instead. But I appreciate the feedback. So this is Low Res Futures. This is, again, by two of my favorite folks. That's Max Lander and Aaron King, who are doing Low Res Futures. It's a millennial cyber witchcraft augmented reality game from 1990X. That is a phenomenal description. It's 2 RPGs and 1 flip book. Not millennial. A millenarian cyber witchcraft augmented reality death games from 1990X. So Aaron has created one of my favorite games ever, Patchwork World. It's in my top 3 games of all time. But this is 2 games in 1 book. So again, at the top, they're letting you know that hand baskets, and they're just telling you, going straight into what it is. It's digitally enhanced cyber witch demon summoning battle royale game by Max Lander. Players try to maximize their reputation, take out the competition, and stay alive, but death isn't the end. Those who fall are re-sleeved into strange and entertaining new bodies to continue the entertainment. The barrier between hell and earth has been shattered. Everything is hot and bloody and sticky. Witchcraft is real, and you can have lunch with a demon any day of the week. With death having lost all meaning, thanks to the technological development of sleeves, the #1 entertainment of all times is a series of extreme blood sports intended to appease the gods, the devilish ones, through bloody sacrifice. So that's 1. And again, I would flip-flop those, but it's both pretty concise. I think it's good. And A Mirror Brightly, this is the other game. The game of millenarian magical rebellion by Aaron King. Wake up from the drudgery of everyday life in 1990X and fight for the best futures you can possibly imagine. Inspired by the Invisibles, The Matrix, and Mage the Awakening, players fight the power with tech, hex, and sex. You can I would have X'd tech, but it's fine. You can read the full character creation rules for free here. Aaron's created a little card site, and then we've got that strong image pop that I really love. Here's a great example of just a mock-up in use. They talk about the format, but also this is a very cool show not tell. So Max is works in video game development, is a professor of game design, has a lot of background in VR stuff. So they are creating an augmented reality version of the game. So ways that you can interact with it digitally also. So it's just a very cool show not tell. A little bit about Max, a little bit about Aaron, the risks and the challenges. There are no stretch goals, right? So this, again, very simple project. I would flip-flop flavor text for other things. I would probably move the splash image up a little bit higher on the page. But overall, I love this project. Very excited to see people go back at it. And I think this top image, it's a little bit harder to tell the low on a small screen, but the digitized and kind of pixelated resolution of the actual book and the spray over the top of the low res Futures font is chef's kiss. Absolutely phenomenal. I didn't get any suggestions on the in the chat for other pages people wanted me to look at. So those are the ones we're going to look at. Again, I want to just kind of run down really quick. Here are the things that I want you to think about when you are designing your page. You're going to go in and you're going to set up your page. You're going to do it well in advance so you don't have to worry about banking information or the things like that. If you aren't setting up your page at least 2 weeks out for a zine quest, it's going to be a rushed process. I would rather wait 2 weeks more so I can get more followers, so I can make sure I'm not stressed about approval, other things like that. Typically, you want your game page up a month to 3 months in advance so you have time to promote it. But you are going to set up your page. You're going to take care of all that. You want a clear name with a strong description of what the game's about, ideally about one sentence. You want to think about your banner image and your video. What are people going to see when they go to your page, right? You want a strong splash image or flavor text at the top that gathers what is it like to sit and play your game? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What are the tones of the game at the very top? Then you want to go straight into very specifically and concretely what is the game. You want to work art through consistently. You want to think about including endorsements. Make sure there's additional product details, stretch goals, and pledge levels being included consistently throughout there, high up, right? Make sure people know where the game is going, what's involved in it. They need to know how to play the game. Even if something as simple as it's a D20 and D6 system, right? That's enough. Though I would say if you can do more, please do more. A free preview of the game gives you that same benefit, right? If you have media actual plays or other endorsements, you want to talk about your team. Again, show, don't tell. Let me see the faces, the brand marks, the online images that represent those people. Talk about your risk and challenges. And again, those three things, show, don't tell. Try to keep it down to 3 scrolls or less if you can on a mobile device. And then keep it simple if it's your first project. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't do too many pledge levels. Don't think too much about stretch goals. It's an incredibly important thing to help keep your game on track and make sure your first funding run is incredibly successful. So those are some of the things I want to consider. Again, we want to thank Hit Point Press and Constellation RPG Anthology for sponsoring this stream, helping make it a reality. Please go check out and support the work that they're doing. They've got some great indie titles come up. Also, if you use that link, they know that we sent you. We don't get a kickback or anything on that link. They just know that you heard about them through +1. And that they should continue to help support the channel also too, and help get the word out about great indie RPGs. So even if you can't support it, using that link to share it, absolutely great. We totally appreciate that. And then you also have coming up on Friday to help celebrate both our pre-sale launch of Down We Go and the zine starting to ship this week. We are doing Xenomap versus Mini Adventure. It's a system agnostic anthology of different dungeons and maps that you can adventure through. A bunch of mini adventures by a bunch of our friends here. We have a totally Philly crew who's going to be playing. We'll all be based out of Philly, and we're going to be using Down We Go, our house OSR system, to play through it. I'm very excited to have Jess and the creative team from that, along with GM Jeff Stormer, join me this Friday night for that. So please come back and join us for that stream. We've also got a couple of other great things coming up. If you want to help support the channel directly, you can use the Ko-fi link below, subscribe down below, or the other major thing we would love to have you go do is just go over to Plus One EXP and check out any of our great games that we have released there, both by us and by other people. The more we are able to the more times anytime you go buy a game there, about 50% goes directly back to the creator of the game who made it. And the other 50% goes to help support our channel and our brand. So we always appreciate it if people head over there and pick something up. It lets everybody know how much you appreciate it. Or like I said, you can use any of those links down below. We will be back next week with a how to basically handle fulfillment, shipping, logistics workshop. If you're looking for more information on any of the things that we've covered in ZiMo, you can check out our Facebook channel. Our YouTube channel. I'm off it tonight, man. Or you can head over to the ZiMo Discord, ttrpg.link/ZiMo Discord for more information. My name is Tony Vasinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP. This has been How Do I Build a Crowdfunding Page. Thanks so much for being here with us tonight, and we'll see y'all soon.